Hello everyone and welcome to Flash Forward, the show where I talk about every single Flash comic. This week we are finally moving forward with the New 52 Flash. And speaking of moving forward, the trade that we are covering today is Move Forward, which includes issues 1 through 8. Written by Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato, with art by Manapul and Buccellato. The New 52 Justice League had established that most of its heroes were 5 years into their career, so that is where we are starting off with New 52 Flash, where Barry Allen is 5 years into his career as the Flash. So without further ado, let's get straight into issue 1. The story begins with Patty Spivot and Barry Allen visiting a tech symposium. The two characters are dating, and they are marveling over a new monorail system, and Patty suggests that if they want to fix traffic, why not just fix the downtown highway or build another highway? And this guy named Dr. Elias comes over. He's a designer of the monorail system. And he says that that's not the way to fix traffic because all it does is create more traffic. So getting rid of highways will actually reduce it. That is when a group of armed thugs crash through the ceiling window. They've all got weapons. They tell everybody to get down. Everybody gets down and all this smoke starts to fill the room. And Patty realizes that Barry has gone. And we see that Barry is putting on his Flash costume. So he holds out his ring, and then his Flash costume comes out in pieces and starts to connect to him. I'm not really a fan of this design of the Flash suit. Like, the Flash suit itself looks fine. I don't like the way it attaches to him. I prefer it coming out of the ring as in one full costume and not pieces like this. But I can deal with it because it's Manapul's art, and Francis Manapul's art looks amazing. Easily one of the best Flash artists, and I think Buccellato's coloring really helps bring out Manapul's art. Like, his art wouldn't be as good if he didn't have Buccellato doing the coloring for him. We get an awesome 2-page spread introducing the title of the book. Manapul will continue to do this kind of creative 2-page spread intros. One thing I want to immediately point out is that I like how Manapul and Buccellato write these thugs, and how they've given each of them kind of like personalities or made them feel like actual people, where one of them is told to go after the Flash and he's like, me? Like, oh crap. Like, geez, just slow him down. Like, they're bickering amongst each other, the Flash grabs all of their guns, and as they try to escape, we got one going, go, 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 and the other one going, keep your pants on, we're coming. Like, I love this kind of back and forth between these thugs. It's a small detail that really adds a lot. Barry jumps up and grabs onto one of the guys as they're trying to get away. One of the thugs tries to throw a peculiar device down to the one that Barry has a hold of, but Barry grabs it and is like, come on guys, you're making this too easy, and he lets go. As he falls down to the city below holding this thug, he sends the thug flying through a building window using his turbine wind powers, and then he phases through the ground below into the sewers, but he did his vibration at a bad frequency because it causes an explosion. He's like, note to self, don't vibrate using that frequency. And then Iris West arrives, asking him if he's okay, and he's like, yep, just like I planned it. Barry heads back to Dr. Elias and hands him the device, which turns out to be the portable genome recoder, and Dr. Elias says that he'd love to see the Flash again and have a chat with him, and if there's anything he can ever do for him, then he would. And Barry's like, I won't hesitate to let you know. See ya. And he runs off. Patty tries to get a hold of Barry. Barry then arrives, having changed out of his Flash costume. He's like, sorry, I must have dropped my cell in all the confusion. Thanks, hero, but now it's time to clock in. Clock in? Grab your crime scene kit. We got a body. Because the two of them work for the GCPD. As forensic scientists, they find the body of the thug that the Flash had thrown through a window, and they discover that this guy is dead, and Barry recognizes him. This is his friend, Manuel, who he was friends with for years. Apparently it's his best friend. So we see some flashbacks of Manuel and Barry running together, where Manuel tried to come on to some guy's girlfriend, and so they're running away from these guys. As they wheel the body away, Iris arrives. She is a reporter. She wants to get a story on the body, and she believes that the Flash possibly could have murdered this guy. She's like, is it true that the Flash murdered this guy? And Barry's like, we don't know for sure. Pretty sure he didn't, off of the evidence that we've gathered so far, but we'll know more as the investigation goes on. She notes that Barry has her number and that she will call him later so that they can have an interview, and Patty interrupts them and says that Singh wants them back at the GCPD, and she suggests that Iris is coming on a little bit too strong. So already we've got a little bit of a love triangle building here. Director Singh channels his inner J. Jonah Jameson when he asks Barry, or he doesn't just ask him, he yells at Barry for his report that he was supposed to hand in yesterday, and Barry's like, it's right here. And one of Barry's co-workers, Forrest, is like, so the obvious solution is to stand over me and start yelling? Already one of my favorite characters working with Barry. We've seen a little bit of him in a couple of past comics that I've covered, but we'll be seeing a lot more of Forrest in this series. Then Captain Fry comes in, and he's pissed off as well because he's afraid that the Flash is going to get done for murder, and he doesn't want that kind of story getting out because it'll cause all sorts of problems with the public, because they're just going to start flooding in with complaints and stuff because a lot of people in Central City look up to the Flash. And the GCPD have been especially protective of the Flash and have lauded him a lot, so if it turns out the Flash is a murderer, that could be very bad for their images. And Singh is like, I can promise you, none of us are going to be losing our jobs. Not over some dead nobody. And these words definitely hit Barry hard enough that he puts on his Flash costume because he wants to investigate why he found his best friend dead. He heads over to Dr. Elias's to talk to him about the genome recoder. He asks if he can borrow it, and Dr. Elias is like, yeah, of course, these things. It's as if they're personal to you. And Barry answers him saying, they all are. And although he's saying that to try and hide the fact that this really is somebody that he knows personally, it is true when he says this, that every time he comes across a dead body, it's personal to him because he is the Flash, and he feels bad because he wasn't there to help save this person. Barry heads back to his apartment where he investigates the genome recoder, and he comes to the conclusion that it did rewrite Manuel's DNA, but he's confused because if it rewrote his DNA, why does he still look like Manuel? He shouldn't be Manuel if that happened. None of this makes any sense. A mysterious person then enters Barry's apartment. I knew I'd find you home on a Friday night. Barry quickly grabs this guy and throws him against the bookcase. Some things never change, and it's revealed to be Manuel. Manuel, how? Look, I don't have time to explain, and the door gets kicked down by one of these thugs, and so Manuel jumps out the window and he's like, come on, catch up with me if you can. They're running across the city. Barry thinks that this might have something to do with a woman again, like it did in the past, last time they were running together, and I like that Barry is having to run slower than him so that this guy doesn't think he's the Flash. As he's running with Manuel, Barry brings up a quote from his mum. My mum once told me that life is locomotion. If you're not moving, you're not living. But there comes a time when you've got to stop running away from things, and you've got to start running towards something. Barry pretends to trip over himself. He falls into the river next to them, and Manuel realizes that he's gone and continues running. And while he's under the water, Barry uses this as an opportunity to put on his Flash costume without Manuel seeing him, and then he runs on top of the water, and as he's running, he says to himself, even if your path isn't lit, trust that you'll find your way. But that's something Manuel never could do. He was always trying to stay ahead of his mistakes, too busy outrunning ghosts to notice the friends he left behind. Friends like me. But the thing is, no matter how fast or how far you run, you can't outrun yourself. And he sees that all of these thugs and people chasing them are all Manuel. I like how these two here are clearly just trying to aura farm. Especially this guy. Like, look at that guy. He thinks he's so cool. Barry tells the Manuels that they have 3 seconds to let his friend go. And then we get a cool moment of Barry counting to 3 as he zooms around at super speed, smacking these Manuels, taking them all out. We get this really cool 2-page splash of, at the very top, you got Barry just running through all these Manuels and knocking them all out. And then he stops right as he's about to smack one of them. I don't ask twice. Whoa, that was fast. Yet as quick as you are, you can't be everywhere. But we can. So hear us out. You know the idiot that drowned? Because they think that Barry drowned. Like when he pretended to trip into the water, they just thought he drowned. I guess he never came up after that to them, so it makes sense. We got his lady friend, Iris West. It's funny how he immediately thinks it's Iris West. Like, I don't get why he didn't think it was Patty when they say lady friend, because they could have been referring to Patty. He's like, nah, it has to be Iris. Wait, what does that say about Barry that his mind goes straight to Iris instead of Patty? Right, and since you like counting so much, stay still and count to 1,000 and do it slowly, Big Red. When you're clear, you'll get a call. And Cutie Pie gets to live. One more thing, forget about us. Manuel Largo is not worth your trouble. Leave him to mob rule. So they're talking about this mob rule. We'll find out what that means eventually. I'm assuming it's just the name of the organization of these Manuel clones. Barry gets a call from Iris where she tells him his location, quickly runs to her and is like, hey, are you hurt? It would have been nice if they stopped the van before throwing me out, but I'm fine. Glad you're okay. Take care, Miss West, and then he zips off. Barry heads to Dr. Elias as the Flash, and he wants Elias's help to figure out how to get faster. And Elias says that in order for Barry to tap into the Speed Force more, and it's also established in this that Barry named the Speed Force. He says like, oh, this thing that I get my energy from, I called it the Speed Force. Elias says that in order to tap into the Speed Force further, he needs to think faster. And so that is what Barry needs to figure out now. How is he gonna think faster? And we have a moment of him just standing on top of a rooftop. Like, I gotta think faster. How do I do that? And then Patty comes out and is like, hey, you talking to yourself? He's like, no, I mean, yes, kind of, a little. I see, good call on taking that personal day. No worries though, you haven't missed much. No official cause of death on your friend Largo. Coroner is saying he just expired. But here's the weird thing. The cuts and abrasions he got from the plate glass window healed post-mortem. Huh, rapid cell regeneration? That would explain the healing. Labs have started using that process to recreate body parts. It's not too far-fetched to think. They're recreating entire bodies. What if that body was a clone, Barry? This is why I like you, Patty Spivot. And as he's having this conversation with Patty where they discover that Manuel is probably a clone, or like all those guys look like Manuel are all clones, he figures out how to think fast. It's so funny. He's like, oh, I wonder how I think fast. And then he just does it, and he knows how to think fast. And he immediately leaves because he kind of wants to test this out. He goes out to talk with Iris. He meets up with her, and he says to Iris, I can't give you the story that you're looking for, because the story that you're looking for is dirt on the Flash to prove that he is a bad guy. And so I can't lie to you, he's not a bad guy. And as he's talking to Iris, he starts thinking fast again, and he sees things happening before they happen. He sees a robbery going on, and he figures out how to stop it. So he starts rigging the environment to his favor so he can stop this crime from happening. Like, he steals an apple from well, he doesn't steal it, he pays for it. He takes an apple from this guy's pile of apples. He attaches the back of a tow truck to the getaway car, and as he regroups with Iris while eating his apple. He watches as everything plays out. The guy puts the apple on top of the pile, but because there's one apple missing, the apples fall from the pile. As this crook comes out with his money bag, he trips over the apples and is held at gunpoint by the owner of the store. And as his friend tries to get away in the getaway car, he can't because the hook is attached to it. The car gets sent flying, almost hits this kid walking across the road, but Barry drops a dollar note or something on the ground, so the kid goes to pick it up, and that causes the car to miss him and go flying into a truck full of manure. And while this is happening, Iris is just talking about how she's got an interview to see the most dangerous inmate at Iron Heights Prison. Barry then chucks on his Flash costume, and I guess he has access to Manuel's passport or something, because he just decides to use it in order to help him find Manuel. He starts visiting every location that Manuel has been to in the last 5 years. And then we get a flashback of how Barry and Manuel first met. Barry was invited to a party, and he didn't really feel like going because nobody knew who he was. And Manuel's like, "Who says you need to know someone? Sometimes the best company is yourself." He's like, "Hey, I'm Manuel. It's nice to meet you. I'm Barry. Like, let's be friends." And Manuel suggests that they crash the party. And Barry's like, "Crash? You weren't invited. Like, who needs an invite? I know you." It's a nice little meeting between the two of these characters. Barry arrives at what is supposed to be a military training facility that Manuel was at, but it's no longer that. It's now a pig farm, and he has flashbacks of when Manuel was contacting him from this military training facility, asking for help, asking for Barry to help him get out of this place. He refuses to tell Barry what's wrong. We see what's clearly wrong with Manuel. He's lost a hand, and he doesn't want to do this anymore. But as he's on the phone to Barry, Manuel hangs up because he's been taken away by all these military guys. We cut to all of the Manuel clones who have Manuel tied up to a chair, and they have this doctor named Dr. Guerrero, and they tell him to activate this machine that he's got. And they say that Manuel is the solution to their problem. Guerrero activates the machine, which causes a massive blinding green light to appear in the sky, and then all of the power from Central City just goes out everywhere. At Iron Heights Prison, at the GCPD, and there is a plane flying over Gem City Bridge, so I guess this is Central City and Gem City, that they must be twin cities or something. This plane has run out of power as well and begins crashing, and Barry's like, "Oh hell, I gotta do something about this now." At first when I read this, I was a little bit confused as to what was going on towards the end, and then it clicked and I was like, oh, the power went out. That's what happened. As the plane is coming down, Barry talks about coffee and what it means to him, because he knows that people are obsessed with coffee, they love it. He personally doesn't love coffee, he chooses not to drink it, and there is an in-universe explanation for that. Barry starts talking about how he learnt how to do his different abilities. He didn't learn them, it came naturally or accidentally, and one of those powers that he learnt through an accident was how to vibrate through objects. One night he was drinking coffee, and then he got so jittery that he fell through the floor of his lab to the floor below, and since then he has chosen not to drink coffee. But today, he wishes he had a cup of coffee because of what he's about to do. He chases after the plane, he moves some of these vehicles out of the way using his turbine abilities, he jumps through the plane, he vibrates inside of it, and then he causes the plane to vibrate at a frequency that it can go straight through the bridge. It's a really cool shot of him doing this. It's the first time he's ever done this. He's just out like a light after this. Meanwhile, Dr. Guerrero gets shot by one of the Manuel clones, and they're like, what the hell are you doing? Why did you shoot him? Like, because he's not good for anything other than causing a blackout within the two cities. Also, I discover that the two cities are Central City and Keystone City. The bridge is called Gem Bridge because the two cities are known as the Gem Cities. It doesn't... Like, it just makes things a little bit confusing if you're reading this for the first time. Like, they should have just called it Central City Bridge or Keystone City Bridge, but I guess they wanted the bridge to symbolize, the connection between both cities. While the Manuel clones are arguing, we see a flashback of Manuel and how he got his abilities to clone himself. So the military hired Dr. Guerrero to use pig DNA to restart the human body's ability to regenerate. Because he says that when you are a fetus, you have the ability to regenerate, but you lose that ability once you are born. And the pig DNA can jumpstart that regeneration ability, and they will use it to turn Manuel into a one-man army. And it turns out that's why he was missing a hand when he called Barry. Meanwhile, at Iron Heights Prison, it turns out that the criminal that Iris is visiting is Captain Cold. She's there to get an exclusive on The Flash, and Cold is like, nah, can't give you that. Got nothing to say about your stupid brutality claims, but I've got your next headline. This little blackout is nothing compared to the devastation I have in store for Central City. I've stepped up my game, so have my friends. Tell the Flash thank you. The Rogues intend to pay him back in kind. So we're already establishing that the Rogues are fully established at this point, which makes sense. The Flash has been around for 5 years. It makes sense that he's already met Captain Cold, the Trickster, and all those guys. Barry wakes up on the plane. He's like, ugh, it worked. Everyone, it's safe now. Please leave the plane in an orderly manner. And this kid asks for his autograph. He quickly gives the kid his autograph and then runs off. He's like, that was kind of awesome. Okay, back to work. The power is out in both cities, so I've got to save as many people as I possibly can. So he starts rushing through both cities, saving people. Like, he stops a falling elevator. He makes sure a bunch of tigers don't escape from their enclosure. And meanwhile, the GCPD are also going out into the city and helping people as well. And we see Forrest helping a dog too. He lifts up a car. So it's cool seeing the members of the GCPD helping people. Meanwhile, Dr. Elias is investigating the origin of the blackout, which brings him to the middle of nowhere, it looks like, where he finds a tank, and on top of the tank is Axel Walker, aka the Trickster, and he's got a couple of guys that work for him, I guess. And Elias is there to meet with them to get information about the blackout, but they're not interested in that. They're interested in introducing Elias to their friends, which are the Manuel clones. It turns out Elias did exactly what they wanted. He came to them. So Axel just happily gives them Elias, and in return, all he wants is Elias's vehicle. I really don't get why there's just a tank in the middle of nowhere, why the Trickster is on this tank or anything. Like, none of this was explained. I don't get it. It's confusing. It feels like we're missing a couple of story beats. Meanwhile, at a meeting with the GCPD, Patty tells Barry that she's found a lead on Manuel's location. She says that the military were testing on soldiers something called Project Bellator, and that one of their facilities where they were doing this project is in the medical district of Keystone City. So she wants her and Barry to go and investigate that. And Forrest is like, how are you going to investigate that when we don't have any cars because the power's out? And it turns out they have horses that they can ride on, which is another cool moment in this that I've never seen. You don't see this kind of stuff, especially in a Flash comic, of Barry and Patty just riding on horses to Keystone City. It's just for one panel, though. They get off the horses, they find the facility, like, they find this warehouse, they enter it, they see the Manuel clones, so they're like, alright, we gotta sneak through here and try and find Manuel. They find Manuel, they realize that he's missing both of his hands, because they've cut them off in order to, quote-unquote, recruit. Can you walk? Yeah, just don't ask me to do a handstand. They haven't taken your sense of humor. Hurry, we gotta get him out of here before anyone... Too late. The Manuel clones arrive. They're like, oh shit, quick, run! They all run away from the Manuel clones to one of the open doors, and Patty and Manuel manage to get through, but Barry closes the door, and they're like, no, Barry, don't! You made a big mistake, Alan. No, you made a bigger one. And he starts to use his fast thinking ability, and as he does this, Patty is outside screaming, like, trying to make sure that Barry's gonna be okay, and one of the Manuel clones, holding a sniper rifle, shoots at Barry as he is doing his fast thinking, straight in the head, just shoots him in the head. And Barry is taken out. Possibly dead? And the clones are like, what did you do? You know what he means to us? It doesn't matter now. He's dead. So Barry, at this point, didn't think fast enough. So this is one of those examples of his fast thinking failing on him. He's still learning how to perfect it. We get another Barry and Manuel flashback. This is the funeral of Manuel's father, who died in a plane crash that was hacked by a bunch of terrorists. Manuel didn't join everyone at the funeral. He was there, but he was watching from a distance, and his mother wished that her son was here for her husband, but Manuel has contempt for his mother. He blames her. It's like, if she hadn't drove my dad out the door, he never would have gotten on that plane. And Barry's like, you can't be like that, Manuel. Like, come on, you need to be there for your mother so that she can be there for you in this trying time. And Manuel's like, I don't care. My goal right now is to get revenge on the guys that killed my dad. I'm gonna kill them all. Like, he immediately just goes to, I'm gonna murder all these guys. I joined the CIA, Barry. Maybe you should join them too. It'd be good. And Barry's like, no thank you. I'm good with the GCPD. And Manuel's like, whatever. Probably won't see you again, at least for a while. We then cut to Dr. Elias, who has been abducted by Mob Rule, or he's going with them by choice because he wants to help them, because they want his help reuniting with Manuel, or using Manuel to stop them from dying, because they're all degenerating. They're all clones that are degenerating. And I like that they're all in these cars, and they're using material that they've put together to make sails. They're using the wind in order to move the cars, because obviously the power's gone out. And they explain to Elias the origin of Mob Rule. So Manuel joined the CIA, went out as an agent, and as soon as he figured out who killed his dad, which was this group called Basilisk, he went rogue and started targeting Basilisk to take them out. And when I saw Basilisk, I was like, this is very similar to Hydra. They're very much Hydra vibes. Even their outfits gave major Hydra vibes. He tried to hunt them down. They managed to capture him, and then they started torturing him. And they discovered that he could regenerate his body parts, so they would just cut off his arms and his legs and let him regenerate. And eventually, the clones generated from his arms and legs. And while they can regenerate their own body parts, they can't create life like Manuel can. So they found Manuel, they took him in, and as a group, they hunted down Basilisk. However, Manuel eventually abandoned them. Once they all started to die, he abandoned them. And since then, they've been trying to hunt him down and grab it, and capture him again so that they can figure out how to stop themselves from dying. Elias says that he should be able to use his special power source that he's created in order to help them, but they're gonna need Manuel. Meanwhile, the Gem City Bridge, the GCPD are trying to stop the civilians from crossing the bridge because the Flash vibrated a plane through the bridge, and in the past, whenever the Flash has vibrated through stuff, it's caused explosions, so they don't want to risk the bridge exploding anytime soon. They don't know how long it could take. They just want to be on the safe side. Manuel wants to get out of here because he's like, oh, this mob is going to start getting violent soon. And Patty refuses to leave. She's like, you left your friend to die. I can't leave these people in danger. I need to do my job. I don't want to go with you. You don't care about anything. Because Manuel says he cares about Barry. And she's like, no, you don't. You say you care about him, but you don't actually care about him. And that means that Mob Roll doesn't care about him, which means they probably have done something terrible to him. And you only have yourself to blame for that. Meanwhile, in Ironheight's prison, Iris has been locked inside Cold's cell, and she doesn't want to stay in there anymore, so she grabs a piece of the ventilation and uses it to chip away at the ice that has kept the door shut. Manuel leaves Patty, and it turns out that he hasn't turned his back on Barry. He's planning on going to where he last saw Barry to see if he's still alive and help him, but he comes face to face with Mob Rule, where they reveal to him that they killed Barry. And so he's like, "You killed Barry? I'm gonna kill you all!" And he just starts beating the shit out of them. There's this awesome panel layout of them grabbing him, and the panel flips to the side as they force him to the ground. And then we get even greater paneling from Manapul, where Manuel's tears form the panels that create more flashbacks with Barry Allen. It was the day after Barry received his powers from the lightning strike. Manuel obviously doesn't know this happened. He just thinks, oh, Barry survived the lightning strike. That's pretty amazing. Turns out he showed up that day. It was the first time Barry had seen him in ages. And he just showed up to say, "Hey, Barry, I'm still alive, so you don't need to hold a funeral for me. And that's it. I'm leaving, and you're probably not going to see me for a long time again." So he just came in to say, "Hey, I'm alive, goodbye." And outside, his clones are waiting for him. So this must have been around the time that he and his clones were still hunting down Basilisk. The clones explain to Manuel he can't run away from them, because they are him. And so he needs to come to terms with that. And he needs to also come to terms and accept who he is. The dialogue becomes pretty confusing. They're like, you got to accept us and who we are, and you've got to accept who you are. Barry wakes up from his injury. Turns out he is not dead. He, last minute, felt the bullet within the vicinity of his face, and his pain receptors were able to go off before the bullet truly hit him. That's one of the upsides to having super speed. And so he was able to move away just in time, where the bullet only grazed the side of his head. But there is still a problem evident, and that problem is that Barry hasn't learned how to use his fast thinking well enough yet. It failed him this time, and he needs to make sure he knows how to use it so that it won't fail him again, because he might not be so lucky next time. And then he finds Dr. Elias's tie and is like, oh shit, they have Dr. Elias. I don't know why his tie is here. I guess they must have dropped it here to give Barry that kind of clue. As he picks up the tie, it actually sets off a bunch of bombs. And so Barry's like, oh shit. And he quickly runs, puts his costume on, dives out one of the building windows. I'm done overthinking. It's simple, really. I have to run towards danger. It's my job to protect the cities, to protect my friends. No matter what price I have to pay, I won't stop running. I'm the Flash. This is what I do. And we get a cool hero shot of him running away from the explosion, because heroes don't look at those. It's a good thing there was nobody in there at the time. Can you imagine if they left one mob roll guy just to keep an eye on Barry, and he came out of the toilet and he was like, I shouldn't have had those enchiladas last night, and then the whole building explodes? Dr. Elias brings Mob Rule to his basement to show them all of his experiments from the symposium, and one of these experiments is his power source that he plans to use on Manuel to fix the clones. The clones don't find any of this interesting at all. In fact, one of them gets so bored, he drops dead. And Elias is like, well, I'll get started, I guess. Meanwhile, at Ironheight's prison, Iris makes her way out of the cell, where she sees that the whole prison has been frozen by Captain Cole. We've got guards that have been frozen over, and there are criminals running loose. We've got Gerda, Folded Man, Tar Pit. We're establishing that these villains already exist and that the Flash has already dealt with them in the past. They need insurance to help them get out of Ironheights, and they see Iris and they're like, hello, insurance. Careful, fellas, I bite. I love how she's holding up the grate like she's gonna smack him with it or something. Meanwhile, on Gem City Bridge, the police are continuing to stop the civilians from being able to cross it over to Central City. They're starting to get more rowdy and angry, and as they're trying to keep everyone calm, they see the Flash running across the river with a couple of barges behind him. He's gotten these from Wayne Enterprises. They are rescue barges, so he's going to tell everybody to get on them, and they're all like, but what about the bridge? Like, is it safe? And Flash is like, no, the bridge is fine. I know for a fact it's not going to blow up. If it was going to blow up, it would have blown up by now. And so as everybody gets to safety, Flash sees the ice, and he's like, oh, Captain Cold's been here. Meanwhile, Iris really does use the grate as a weapon. She straight up starts smacking these guys across the face with it, and then Barry runs in, he unfreezes the guards using friction, and he just blasts the shit out of these villains with the ice-cold water. I'm getting the sense that Flash's power level might be unbalanced in this series, because we see him taking out these three villains, which I always thought Tar Pit was one of those underrated villains in terms of power, because the guy is literally made out of molten tar, and he can, like, create it and shit. We'll have Flash taking out these three guys super piss easy, but then spend the next 2 issues with Flash struggling against Captain Cold. Barry sees a green light emitting from the city, and he knows that that is probably Dr. Elias and Manuel, so he heads off there, and Iris asks if she can catch a ride. He's like, yeah, sure. And you'd think that that means that Barry is bringing Iris with him to see Manuel, but he's not. He just drops her off somewhere. We don't even see him dropping her off. He just arrives where Manuel is without her. Dr. Elias turns on the machine, and Barry arrives, and we see the army of Manuel clones. They all try to stop him from reaching Manuel, but he just punches his way through. He's like, ah, and smashes through them all the way to the machine, and Manuel tells him not to do anything, not to help him, because he's trying to help his clones. He's trying to save their lives. But Barry realizes that the machine is killing Manuel, and that it's overloading, and so he's going to have to do something about it. Dr. Elias tells him to do something about it, because if the machine explodes, it could kill everyone in the room. So Barry starts running around the machine, using the speed force to contain the blast, and propel it into the atmosphere. And all of Manuel's clones die, but Manuel is fine. And Manuel's just broken after this. He's like, no. Ah! You killed them all. They didn't have to die. Manuel, no. And he just kicks Flash in the head and knocks him out. Shut up. It's not his... And he punches Elias in the face. And then he just kind of stands there and looks at everyone. We cut to the warehouse district of Keystone City, where the GCPD finds some bones that they think are Barry Allen and possibly Manuel. And that's when Barry shows up, and Patty's like, oh my god, Barry! And Barry's like, sorry, I had to do it for a friend who's like family. And Patty's like, no, we're your family. And it's moments like this that make me feel like Manapul really did not want Barry and Patty to be a couple. I'm not really a fan of this coupling, but it's very evident here that he was not a fan of it, because the way he writes her on this page feels more like she kind of looks up to Barry like a brother than a partner, the way she says that we're family. Like, they do not give off the vibe that they're in a relationship at all. She doesn't even kiss him. She just chooses to hug him only. Like, she probably should have hugged him and kissed him. I don't know. Meanwhile, we see Manuel on a train. It's like, you are the closest thing I have to family. No matter how many of us they kill, no matter who gets in our way, one by one, limb by limb, we will find another way. We are survivors. We are mob rule. And we see on the reflection of his knife that he has more clones. And Manuel never shows up again after this. That's right, we never see Manuel or mob rule ever again. The storyline goes nowhere. Dr. Elias finally gives us the much-needed context behind that tank that was just randomly in the middle of nowhere. There is a reason for that. I wish Manapul had given just a little bit of context or pointed out the tank whatsoever, because when that tank shows up, there's no mention of it or anything. They just act like it's normal, but it's not normal. Dr. Elias says that the tank has been there for 70 years, which is 20 years before it was made. And that's not the only thing. There have been other things found all over the globe or all over America that come from different points in time. And he says it's because of the Speed Force. Whenever Barry has been using the Speed Force, he has been causing things to appear from different points in time. Appear and disappear. His powers, as he puts it, are tearing at the very fabric of space and time. Every time you run, you risk bringing us closer to oblivion. I'm sorry to say this, Flash. We've got to destroy the Speed Force. And that's the end of the first story arc that covers issues 1 through 5. And already, we're dealing with Barry having to destroy the Speed Force because he's bringing oblivion. This definitely feels more like a story arc that Manapul wanted to do on the previous Flash series. It doesn't really fit as the first arc for a reboot. Like, Mob Rule is the kind of villain that you would expect to see in a later arc after we'd already established Manuel as a character. And yeah, Barry, like 5 issues in, already doing a story about the Speed Force causing oblivion and Barry having to destroy it. It's a bit early for that, isn't it? Like, you don't want to blow out your big ideas too early. Like, you don't want things to start at 100, because then you won't be able to meet that later. Things need to gradually build up, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe it's not going to be as big as it seems to be making it out to be. The next issue does the kind of storytelling that I've never really been a fan of, which is cutting back between past and present, different time intervals. However, this issue doesn't do it as bad as some of the stuff I've read in the past, written by Grant Morrison or other writers. In the present day, Barry talks about the Rogues and his experience with them, his past with them. He's been the Flash for 5 years. He's fought the Rogues and Captain Cold, and right now he is fighting Captain Cold, only things are different because the previous times he fought Captain Cold, Cold had freeze guns, but now he seems to have freezing powers. He can just shoot ice out of his hands, and this catches Barry off guard. Cold just punches him straight in the face with an ice fist, sending him flying. And he's like, guess not. Somehow Captain Cold is different. His powers are now a part of him. He's bigger and stronger, and I'm slower? We see that Cold has created 3 giant ice pillars with ships on top of them. And we cut to the day before, where Barry and Patty have just gone on vacation. They're coming back to Central City. They're on a bus. And this is actually the first time that Barry calls her his girlfriend. He's never said it before. It's later confirmed that they've been dating for 2 months. So they're taking things pretty slow if that symposium was their first date and this is the first time that he calls her his girlfriend. They're not just heading back to Central City, they're heading there to see Iris and talk to her about her interviews and stuff with the Flash. We then cut to that night where Dr. Elias has a conversation with Barry, or with the Flash, because he doesn't know it's Barry, about the Speed Force and how he's going to find ways to help Barry not use it as much. And one of those ways is giving him a warning system in his suit that will tell him when he's using too much of his speed power once it gets to a deadly threshold. He says the threshold is 80%, so once he gets above 80%, he needs to stop using his powers or he will cause a rip in the time stream. He also shows Barry that he has this giant treadmill, and whenever Barry meets that 80% threshold, he should come to this treadmill, run in it, and then the treadmill will siphon the Speed Force energy and store them in batteries that will help power the city. We cut back to the present where one of the giant ice pillars starts cracking, and he's like, Patty! And we see that Iris and Patty are on this ship as it starts tilting, everyone's falling, and Cold is like, where are you going? You can't save them. We have something to deal with here. My grudge against you. And we see in the past, that morning, that Cold's reasons for hating Barry aren't just... It's nothing to do with how Barry has taken him down in the past. This is more about his sister. We learn that the EMP blast that Flash created in the last issue was responsible for a power outage in the hospital room that Snot's sister is in. She is currently in a coma, and she's going to be in a coma for longer now because of the Flash. And Cold starts getting really mad at this doctor because he wants the doctor to help his sister, and the doctor's like, I can't help your sister right now because of what the Flash did. And so Cold swears to his sister, Lisa, that he is going to make the Flash pay. Barry manages to save the half of the ship that Iris is on, and Cold punches him in the face and is like, sorry, Flash, we're not done with this little dance that we're doing. We then cut to 15 minutes ago, where Barry, Patty, and Iris all meet up together, and Manapul establishes this dynamic between them in relation to the Flash. So previously, Iris was trying to come up with a story that villainized the Flash, but now she's flipped, and she wants to prove that the Flash is a hero, while Patty is the one depicted as being the one that's like, can we trust the Flash? Is he responsible for these villains that just keep cropping up? Like, is it because of him? Like, should he just let the GCPD do their job? It's gonna be that kind of thing, where it's like, oh, she's dating Barry Allen, who is the Flash, but she doesn't like the Flash. Which is a pretty tiring relationship dynamic in superhero comics, of the girlfriend hating the superhero that their boyfriend happens to be. 10 minutes later is when Cold first showed up, and he's like, the Flash has ruined my life with what he's done to my sister. I had the Rogues, he took them away too, so now I have nothing. He's taken everything away from me, everything. Time to draw him out and invite him to this dance. I'm gonna kill the Flash. And that's when he created the ice pillars and trapped the ships. And in the present, Barry has no idea why Cold is doing any of this. He's like, I don't know what kind of problem you have with me, but this is not the way to deal with it. And at this time, Barry is using too much of his power. The warning is going up. It's saying that he's used 84% of his power. And he starts to fritz out. He's like, and he starts to... He just falls over. He's like, he falls backwards. As the half of the ship that Patty is on continues to fall towards the ground, and Barry's in too much pain to be able to do anything. He's like, no! Patty! As Patty's ship crashes into the ground behind them. As the ship that Patty is on, as well as other people as well, crashes to the ground, her death seeming imminent, Barry talks about the day that he first met her, like the first day she walked into the office, her smell. I don't know what it is with these monologues when people are talking about the one they love, but I feel like writers and stuff always include a part where it's like, oh, and she smelled amazing. Like, imagine how good she smelled. This all happens within 10 seconds, and during one of those seconds, Barry points out that Cold is acting different than usual, and he's referring to the fact that Cold used to have a no-killing rule, and now he's trying to kill people. It's something that I forgot to mention earlier, but yeah, he never killed people before, and now he's doing all this. The ship crashes into the ice, and regardless of the warning that he's getting from his, like, little Speed Force pedometer thing, he decides to push through anyway and use the Speed Force more than he should in order to save Patty's life and the lives of a couple of the people that were on the ship with her. Luckily for Barry, there were only 3 people on that half of the ship. But there's no time for celebrations because Barry sees the unfortunate outcome of using too much of the Speed Force, because while he was able to save Patty and the people on that half of the ship, Iris and the people on the other half of the ship, they get sucked up into a wormhole that appears in the sky that was caused by Barry using too much of the Speed Force. And he tries to save Iris. He reaches out for her hand. He's like, no, can't let this happen. And she gets pulled away. The wormhole disappears. Oh, my fault. And then Cold starts climbing his way out. He's like, downside to new cold powers controlling him while wet, can barely move, can't breathe. And Barry just grabs him in anger. He's like, you made me do this. You put all these people in jeopardy. And for what? And he just starts beating the shit out of Cold. Just to get at me? Why? My sister. Dying because of you. Me? She has a brain tumor. The EMP knocked out power in the hospital. Not enough power to operate. She's all I have. Have you ever lost someone, Flash? I mean, really lost someone? Someone that you'd do anything to save? Yes, Colt, I have. More than you'll ever know. I'm sorry about your sister, Leonard, but no matter how much we hurt, we need to know where to draw the line. Your sister is one of thousands in a hospital suffering right now during the citywide blackout. I'm working on a solution to help them all. This is not the way. Surrender peacefully and I'll do everything in my power to save your sister. I may not be able to change the past, but I'll sure as hell do what I can to affect the future. It's a pretty powerful moment between him and Cold, and it shows that the two of them are more similar to each other than they realize. I think it sets up a possible redemption for Cold in the future. Like, you could see these two characters helping each other eventually. Barry heads back to see Dr. Elias, saying that he wants to use the treadmill to siphon the Speed Force, but he's actually lying to Elias. He wants to use the treadmill to try and open up another wormhole because he wants to see if he can save Iris. Because to Barry, he's like, oh, I just opened up a wormhole, go into it. It'll probably be the same wormhole that Iris got sent into, at least I hope so. So he does exactly that. He opens up a wormhole, runs into it. Meanwhile, in Africa, there are a bunch of gorilla elders who see lightning in the sky. They're like, the sky speak to us tonight. After centuries of waiting, the second coming is upon us. And we see Gorilla Grodd and his king watching the elders. And Grodd tells the king that the elders are crazy and that they shouldn't listen to them. And that the gorilla's true purpose is to conquer the world. So we're setting up this Gorilla Grodd plot. Meanwhile, in Central City, Leonard goes and visits his sister. He's been arrested, but he's got an opportunity to see her one last time. It's like, Lisa, I'm here, sis. I'm right here. Len, is that you? It's me, sis. Oh God, I thought I lost you. You, after what you did to us, to me, you should have let me die. Like, oof, that's kind of rough. Imagine doing all of this for your sister, and then you go and see her. She's woken up out of this coma, and the first thing she says is, I hate you. You should have just let me die. That's pretty rough. Patty goes and visits Singh because they think Barry's dead. Because he was supposed to be on the half of the ship that got sent into the wormhole. Because obviously they don't know he's the Flash. I didn't even realize this until they pointed it out. While she's in Singh's apartment, she points out that he has a collection of flutes. And she's like, oh, I didn't know you collected these kind of things. And Singh's like, oh, those aren't mine. This is setting something up a little interesting later. A certain Piper, perhaps. Patty continues her whole spiel about how the Flash is a bad guy. The Flash is the reason this is all happening. Why can't the GCPD do anything about this? We should do something about the Flash. This won't bring back Barry, Patty. No, it won't. Oh God, I never told Barry that I loved him. I'm so sorry, Patty. We'll get through this. My God. He's not saying my God in reaction to the fact that Barry might be dead. No, he's saying it because she just broke his glass. He's like, my God, why did you just break my glass? That was brand new. That was given to me by my partner. Man, he's gonna be so mad. You better not touch his flute collection. Barry finds himself inside the Speed Force. He doesn't know exactly where he is, but it's very easy to figure out that this is the Speed Force. He sees memories of his mom. He's like, Mom, where am I? Am I dead? And somebody grabs him on the shoulder and is like, not yet. But if you don't get me out of here, you will be. And he just grabs him and is like, hey, if you want to convince Barry to get you out of the Speed Force, maybe don't try attacking him or threatening to kill the guy that is your only hope to get out. Like, already this guy's not thinking straight. In 1944, a pilot of the Air Force went missing. A lightning strike hit his plane. He disappeared, and his comrades were left shocked. They're like, Hines, what happened? Where'd you go? We then cut to the Speed Force, present day, where Barry Allen is inside it, and he's being attacked by this guy, and this guy knows that he is Barry Allen. He's like, I don't know who you think I am, but get off me! And he throws him off of him. Don't play dumb, I know all about you. You're the key to this whole damn place, and you're getting me back home if I have to kill you to do it. And it's revealed that this guy has the ability to spin at immense speeds. And Barry dodges all these rocks that this guy is shooting at him, and then knees him in the face. It's revealed that this is the same guy that we saw in 1944 who disappeared. His name is Roscoe Hines, and he calls himself Turbine. He's already come up with a supervillain name for himself, or he's not a supervillain yet. It's kind of unclear what he's going to be at the moment. He has a chance for redemption because Barry is able to get through to him once they actually start talking. This guy is very clearly a reference to the character Top, or a reimagining of the character Top, because that character was called Roscoe Dillon. This guy's name is Roscoe Hines. They have the same powers. They have similar costumes. One thing I like about this guy's costume is that it's literally just his flight suit with the tubes unattached. Like, that's all it is. Roscoe knows a lot about the Speed Force because he's spent so much time in here, and he says that all Barry has to do is look into the Speed Force and see the truth of what the Speed Force is and what his connection to it is. This entire time, Barry thinks that he's the reason all these time vortexes are happening. But that's not true. Roscoe says that he isn't the problem, he's the solution. The Speed Force is a ball that is constantly moving. It builds up energy, and that energy needs to release. And the Flash is the key to releasing that energy. Every time he runs, he releases it. And so Barry asks him, what happens if I don't run? We then cut to the Central City Music Hall, where the GCPD are holding a memorial for all of the cops that have died, including Barry Allen. And Hartley Rathaway has been invited. He is the head of the Central City Symphony. They have their little memorial for all the cops, and then they gather together and start talking about whether or not the Flash is a bad guy and they need to do something about him. Singh starts calling him a vigilante. Forrest seems to be on the side that the Flash is a force for good. And that is when Hartley approaches Singh. He's like, oh, come on, David. Not all vigilantes are self-serving. Some do actual good. And Singh establishes that he knows that Hartley Rathaway used to be a vigilante. Like, not all vigilantes are as easily reformed as you. Instead of debating, how about you introduce me to your friends? Yeah, how rude of me. Petty Spivot, James Forrest, this is my friend, Hartley Rathaway. And we see Hartley's face, and he's clearly upset that Singh is using the term friend. If it isn't obvious enough already, these guys aren't just friends. Starting to put two and two together. He's the head of the symphony. Singh had flutes in his house that weren't his. Back inside the Speed Force, it is revealed that Roscoe is the reason why all of these time vortexes have been going on. All these people have been disappearing, because whenever Barry Allen doesn't run, it creates time vortexes in the Speed Force. But most of them were created before he even became the Flash. Like, it wasn't until he became the Flash that the vortexes stopped happening, because he was running, he was using the Speed Force. However, because Roscoe was stuck inside of the Speed Force for so many years, 70 years, every time a time vortex opened up, he would go inside it. And that would cause the vortexes to appear in real time and take people away. And that's what happened to Iris. It was Roscoe's fault, not Barry's. And because time is all the same within the Speed Force, you know, Roscoe could have done that 50 years ago, and that was when Iris got teleported in the present, you know? Confusing time travel stuff. Barry gets really mad at him. He's like, do you know how much pain and suffering you caused? Your pinballing sent an EMP blast into the past and blacked out 2 cities. I'm sorry. I was trying to get back home. Send me back to 1944. Please, my time. It's very clear that Roscoe is not in the right headspace. He's gone pretty crazy from being in the Speed Force for so long, which is another thing that he shares with Roscoe Dillon, the Top. You know, Roscoe Dillon went crazy, and now Roscoe is insane as well. I can't send you back for the same reason I can't go jumping through time to find Iris. It'll alter the timeline and change everything. You're coming with me to the present. No, if you won't take me back, I'll kill you. And he spins around, sends Barry flying. Barry starts pinballing through the Speed Force, until he gets zapped out of the Speed Force alongside Roscoe. He's like, we're getting out of here, I'm taking you with me. He flies through the Speed Force, disappears, and loses one of his earpieces, and we see that Iris is inside the Speed Force alongside these other people that were on her ship, and she picks up the earpiece. Because they heard Barry and Roscoe yelling, so they came to investigate. Meanwhile, in Africa, the guerrillas do a regular ritual of theirs. It's a fight between Grodd and the king, who is his father. It's revealed that, yeah, that's their relationship. God is actually the son of the king. I didn't know that previously, because it wasn't really made clear. But yes, they are father and son, and he needs to fight his father to see if he's worthy of being king. So they fight each other. And at the same time, they're talking to one another. I'm not your son anymore. I am Grodd, supreme ruler of Gorilla City. Even though you are about to die, take comfort in knowing that as I devour your brain, your memories will live on with me. Which is a pretty horrible thing to say. You disappoint me, son. Words won't save you from my wrath. I'll take no joy in the bitter taste of my son's knowledge. You want my brain, father? Take it! And he headbutts his father, and the horn of his helmet goes through his father's head, killing him. Goodbye, father. Now and forever. I am King Grodd. And as he says this, worst timing, Barry just comes flying in, crashing in the background. And that's it. That's the end of Move Forward. We are stopping there on that cliffhanger at issue 8. That is the end of this week's video. We have started the New 52 Flash, and so far, I'm enjoying it, but I'm not enjoying it as much as some of the previous Flash comics that I've read. I think that the story is fine, but not great. Like, I think it's pretty mediocre. Like, it's somewhere in the middle. And I think that has something to do with the fact that the New 52 decided to start 5 years into the superheroes' careers, because this would have been much more interesting if it was Manapul setting up the rogues and stuff like that, but because all of that stuff is already established, the villains he's now setting up just aren't nearly as interesting. Like, I think Turbine is kind of interesting, the fact that he's from 1944, he's a person out of time. Like, I'm hoping Manapul does some interesting stuff with that, but, like, Mob Brawl wasn't really interesting at all. And now we just got Gorilla Grodd, which I like Gorilla Grodd, but, like, I can already sense that we're going to be just retracing previous Gorilla Grodd stories that we've already seen. We also didn't get a proper explanation as to why Captain Cold has ice powers instead of guns now. Like, Barry just mentions that he doesn't have guns anymore, and Cold is like, yeah, things are different now. Like, it's like Manapul, it's like it was an editorial mandate that Cold was supposed to have superpowers instead of guns, because that's cooler than ice guns. Quote-unquote cooler. But Manapul just didn't really care about him not using guns, and so he didn't even bother to come up with an explanation for his powers. Maybe we'll see that in the future. We are going to get more stuff with the Rogues, because of course we are. It's a Flash title, so maybe Manapul will explain it, but I was hoping to get an explanation during that little Captain Cold arc, like maybe a flashback or something. But I guess a lot was going on. We didn't really have time for that. So that's going to be it for this week, and I will see you next week for more New 52 Flash. We will be covering the next volume. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then feel free to like and subscribe and hit the hype button, and I will see you next week. Have a good one.